Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Today I'm in this Porsche 911 991, more specifically the Targa model, but I'll go into more detail on that later on. I filmed with the 996 and the 997, but I hadn't even driven a 991 until today. If you're a regular viewer of this channel, you'll know that I'm not exactly a 911 fanboy. I get them, I understand the appeal, I understand why people get so passionate about them, but they don't really turn me on. They never have. So I thought that would make me the ideal candidate to give a fair and balanced review, rather than, gushing about every single aspect of it like most people. Where shall we start then? Well, I suppose with the model name. Now this 991 was released in 2012 and ran until 2019, when it was replaced with the 992. This replaced the 997, which in turn replaced the 996. I'm not exactly sure what happened to the 998, but Porsche decided that the name 991 was better. It's the 7th generation 911 since it was launched back in 1963. But interestingly, it's only the 3rd new platform. Straight away I can tell you that this both looks and feels like a car that's been honed and perfected over the last 5 decades. Everything is that little bit better than the 997. It's longer, wider, faster, lighter, better on fuel and cheaper to tax. They claim the weight distribution's better too. Something else you might like to know, although this car is bigger than the 997 in every measurable way, it still feels like a narrow, nimble sports car. It doesn't feel like a big bloated GT. One thing they haven't improved though is the road noise. You still get more than your fair share. Styling wise, I think it's genuinely good looking. It's svelte, it's interesting, it's different. Makes you turn your head. It has real presence. I'm not talking about the kind that Santa has either. Whether you go for the standard coupe, the convertible or the Targa, they're all pretty. Personally, I prefer the more pared-back, tame-looking 911s. I think they're far classier than the silly high-performance models with the daft stickers and transfers and ironing boards stuck to the boot lid. They just look a bit too try-hard. I'd far rather have one like this that's a bit more discreet. This being the Targa model has the wide body, which I think looks great. It's very muscular and menacing. Looks like it's been injected with steroids. This one has the upgraded clear rear lights, which I think look great. It's quite reminiscent of an Aston Martin DBS. In fact, this colour, agate grey metallic, is a very Aston colour. I also love the fact there's no chrome, even the badges are black. I've got to point out also the 20-inch Sport Techno wheels. In the two-tone colour, there's something really retro about the design. I think they look stunning. So, the quick bypass test. In fact, let's put it into sport mode, turn on the little binocular button. You ready? That's quick actually. That's quick. You've got the paddles behind the steering wheel, so you can change gears manually if you like, and that all happens very quick. That is pretty quick. I think I'll calm down a little bit now. Just in case you were wondering about performance, this still has it in bucket loads. The interior is also very clean and tasteful. Everything feels solid and well engineered. Even the fuel filler cap, now I know that's an £89 optional extra, but worth the money in my opinion. It'll put a wry smile on your face every time you stop to fill it up. The interior is actually very similar to the 2015 Boxster S I filmed with last year, which is no bad thing by the way. It's just all very easy to live with. Let me do a quick speed test again for the purpose of science, obviously. Sport mode, there we go. Second gear, 5,000, 6,000 RPM. I'll change up because I bottled it. That's seriously impressive. If you're looking to buy one, make sure you get one with this upgraded steering wheel, because it looks a whole lot better than the standard steering wheel, which looks like it could have been out of a base model KN. You just get such astounding attention to detail with Porsche. German car manufacturers are famously mean when it comes to optional extras, but Porsche are perhaps the worst culprits. It doesn't matter to them that you're spending nearly £100,000 on a 911, because unless you spend extra, you don't get cruise control, reverse camera, or even parking sensors. They really are ruthless. Part of me thinks that it's just Porsche trying to make more money, which it might be, but secretly I think they're just trying to fuel those forums with more acronyms. Has it got PASM or spasm? The other day I saw one that didn't even have PSRM QST. That's what those Porsche 911 forums are like. They will be all over this video, telling me how wrong I am. Sad bunch, really. Porsche love an acronym, but not as much as those hardcore 911 fans. Without them, they'd have serious FOMO. If you're looking to buy one, make sure it's got all the right optional extras, because it will just make your life easier when it comes to sell. Trust me, you don't want to make your job even harder when it comes to trying to sell your 911. I couldn't run a business selling 911s because some of the inquiries you get, honestly, they're unbelievable. This one's very nicely spec'd. Now, this one started out life at £97,000. That was before the owner spent another £17,000 on optional extras. £17,000, that's like the price of a new Ford Focus, just in optional extras. This one has the sports exhaust system, which is worth every penny. But it's also got the Burmester audio, which I don't think is. It's alright, but I don't think it's worth the £3,000 price tag. Thanks to the 991 being longer and wider than the 997, interior space is massively improved. I always thought the 997 felt very cramped. This doesn't. There's ample room. The storage is improved too. You've got a reasonable sized glove box, some more storage here, some storage in the door pockets. You get 2 cup holders, in case you were wondering, which are a bit flamboyant. They're alright for bottles and cans, but they're not so good for your keys or wallet or phone. The 911's always lauded as the best usable daily sports car, and this is something I've always taken issue with, because there's no boot. Yes, there's a front trunk or a frunk up front, but it's not what you'd call accommodating. It's alright for a weekend away bag, I suppose, or a gym bag, but that's about it. There is some more space behind me if you drop the rear seats, but it can't exactly rival a Jaguar F-Type or XK or AMG GT with a proper boot. The other issue is opening the front boot is a bit of a faff. It's alright on a day like today when it's sunny and dry, but what happens when it's February and it's piddling down and all you're trying to do is get your shopping bags out of the boot? It's not exactly user-friendly. There are 2 rear seats, though they're only really suitable for very thin, athletic children. But you can fold them down and make more room for luggage. Performance-wise, I mean, this is the real reason you'd buy a 911. It's superb, it's agile, it's quick, it sounds lovely. The steering is so perfectly weighted, you can just thread it into these corners. This one's all-wheel drive too, which just gives you the confidence to go into these bends at pretty much any speed you desire. For some reason, I had it in my head that the 991 would feel very wide and chunky, and it just doesn't. I mean, I quite like the 997, how it feels very dainty and slim, and I thought that this was going to feel like an HGV in comparison, but it doesn't. This 991.1 is probably the car that most enthusiasts will like, because it still has its naturally aspirated engine. All of the second generation 991s use turbochargers. This feels reassuringly old school. The handling is unreal, it's almost telepathic. Before you've decided that you want to make some corrections, they're just done. It's that instant, it's so... well, there isn't a better word than instantaneous, I suppose, is there? The ride's a bit on the firm side though, but I suppose you expect that on a car like this. Now, if you press this little binocular button here, everything is just amplified. I mean, listen to that, that is glorious. The stats suggest this will do 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds, but to be honest, it feels quicker than that. If we try Sport Plus mode, the suspension stiffens up. And the gear changes are quite abrupt. So I think Sport mode is this car's happy place. Yeah, Sport Plus is too aggressive for me. Thank you. The 991 range, like all 911s before it, is vast. It starts off with the humble Carrera, then the Carrera S, then the Carrera 4, the Carrera 4S, there's the Targa, GTS, Turbo S. There are loads of models. It all gets a bit confusing. But it just means there's a 911 out there to suit everyone's tastes. When you think about it, the standard Carrera starts off with 370 horsepower, and the 911 range works its way up, getting slightly crazier and crazier each time, until you're at the GT2 RS, which is a track-focused monster basically, which produces 700 horsepower. I can't think of another range of cars with such variety. If you seriously think about buying one, then my money would be on a standard Carrera or Carrera S, because 370 horsepower, rear-wheel drive, I think that's more than enough for the average person. Having said that, I do love the styling of this Targa. I like the fact that you can have the roof down, but you don't get completely blown about like you would in a cabriolet. I also love the dome shape of the Targa. It looks like something from the Jetsons. And the way that this roof opens is possibly the most ostentatious folding roof I've ever seen. And of course you can do it from the key. Imagine pulling up in the pub car park and doing that. It's as flashy as it gets. Most 911s have a 7-speed gearbox, either manual or automatic. Now the automatic is a twin clutch gearbox. Porsche call it a PDK. Now they've perfected this over the last decade or so, and it's now as good as it gets. It still creeps around town without any jerkiness, and when you want to start hooning it, the gear changes are immediate. It is without doubt the best twin clutch gearbox I've ever used. So given the choice between 3 pedals and 2, then I would pick 2. You might think you're missing out by not actually changing the gears yourself, but you're really not. The good thing is with this PDK, if you're driving around town and you feel like being a bit of a yob, if you pull both the paddles together at once, it goes into neutral. So you can rev it up and impress people at bus stops. Very juvenile, I know. One good thing about the 911, and this has always been true, it's both conspicuous and inconspicuous at the same time. It's not a Larry R8 or Lamborghini Gallardo. It still has the ability to fly under the radar somewhat. But also when car enthusiasts spot it, they instantly know it's the best car in the Porsche lineup. In terms of running costs, your fuel and tax bill will be a bit lower than you think. This will average about 32 miles per gallon, if you drive it fairly sensibly. Road tax for most models is under 300 quid. Servicing costs might be higher than a Ford or Vauxhall, but it won't be any higher than a Mercedes or BMW. It's also ULEZ friendly. Reliability shouldn't be a big concern either because they're really well built. If you continue to service it at a Porsche main dealer, you can also take out an extended warranty, which would be quite good for some peace of mind. Used prices here in the UK for these 991s pre-Covid sat at around £42,000, but they all seem to have gone up by about 10%. That's for a couple of different reasons. There are lots of people now with more money in their pocket than before Covid. And secondly, I think there are lots of people out there that are just thinking, you know what, life's too short. I've always wanted a 911. Let me go and get one. Demand has outstripped supply, so the prices have shot up. But still, for around £50,000, you get yourself a decent one. For a nice, well-spec'd Targa one like this, expect to spend about 65. The other good thing with 911s is, it's a fairly safe place to park your money. They depreciate really slowly. In most cases, you can buy one of these, keep it for a couple of years, and get most of your initial purchase price back. And there aren't many cars you can say that about. I think after all that, my opinion on 911s hasn't really changed. This is by far the best one I've ever driven, but I still don't want one. I still don't yearn for one. I do enjoy driving them though. They really are fantastic, well-engineered cars. They're thrilling but never threatening. Every time I drive a 911, I half want one, but I just don't think they represent good value for money. And I like buying used cars which I think are good value. Things like Bentleys and Astons and XKs and F-Types, they've plummeted in price. And that appeals more to me than spending 50 or 60 grand on a 7 or 8 year old Porsche. For this kind of money, I think I'd be very tempted by something like a DBS or an AMG GT, but maybe that's just me. So thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the link below. If you've got any comments or questions, let me know and I'll do my best to get back to you. If you're interested in getting into the used car business, then do check out the link below because I've created an online portal with nearly 100 videos which explain every single aspect of the used car business. From sourcing cars to funding, to dealing with customers, to repairing cars. It's all there, so check it out. So yeah, cheers guys. I'll see you next time.